It's always good to have options when it comes to the miter gauge you choose to use. If you spend any time at all at the table saw, you're going to use a miter gauge. And the question is the one that came with your saw, is it good enough? Is it giving you the results you want? The miter gauge that comes with this saw is a little bit limited in features. So it has a 45 on either side, and it has a 90 at 0, and that's basically it. There are no detents, so everything is by eyeball. I still use my gauge once in a while, because if I'm just cutting a 90 and I only have 1 or 2 cuts and I don't have to worry about length, I'll sometimes grab that one and use it. But for a little bit more accuracy, there are other options, and let me show you one of them. So here we have the Incra V27, which is their basic model, but it actually has quite a few features for something that doesn't cost a lot of dollars. So let me just talk to you a little bit about those features. You'll see that there are expansion points here, and that's going to allow you to adjust that bar into that slot, and it'll fit any miter slot that's 3/4 inch or thereabouts. It has an adjustable fence that you can square to the blade, and this is what Incra calls their angle lock indexing system, which is a big deal, and I'll explain that further in just a little bit. So let me just walk you through how I would set this up and get ready to use. So the first thing you'll notice is that there is a removable tab here in case your miter slot isn't teed. So that is removable. You'll see that there's a little bit of slop in this right out of the box, but that's easily dealt with by these 3 expansion slots. So what I'm going to do is just take the Allen wrench, tighten these up, then we'll just work it back and forth until we get the fit we want. Don't want to over torque them. There you go, no slop. The first step in an accurate cut. So the next thing we're going to deal with is this fence here, and make sure that that's square to the blade. To adjust the fence to the blade, I shut the power off to the saw. I'm going to take a known square and I'm going to put it up against that fence. And there are 4 screws there that I can loosen to make an adjustment if I need to. And I'm off just by a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unscrew these. I'll put that square back in there, flush to the blade. And then you just got to do a little magic. Nudge it slightly. Once I have that there, I'll hold that. I'm going to tighten a couple of screws. I'm going to double check it. I'm a little bit off. I'm going to redo that. Takes a little putzing. But once you do it, you won't have to redo it. So just get it right the first time. So I'll tighten up all the screws. And we're square to the blade. The other thing you can see here is that these 2 screws here would allow you to adjust this to the table so that that is square. And right out of the box, it is square to the table. So I don't have to make that adjustment, but I have that ability. The other thing you'll notice is that there's 2 slots here. Those allow you to add an additional fence if you need to or want to. So now we're on to where the magic really happens, at the back end here on the protractor. It's called the V27. There's 27 indexable pins here, notches I guess they call them. So every 5 degrees plus 22.5 degrees on either side. So I'll show you how that works. If I wanted to set that to 22.5 degrees, there I go, and I'm ready to cut. Much more precise than, say, that original miter gauge I was showing you, where you just have to eyeball it. We'll set her back to 90 here. And one other thing I might make note is the actual profile is pretty narrow. So this should work on a bandsaw or a router table or any other tool you have that has a miter slot. And another nice feature, on the underside, there's a high density plastic. What does that mean? No metal to metal. So what does that get us? A nice, smooth sliding action. So let's make a cut and see how this thing works. .45 never looks so good. But if you like to back your cuts up, we can mount a sacrificial fence to eliminate tear out. And let me show you how we do that. So I made this fence out of Baltic birch. I pre-drilled a couple of holes that are going to align with the slots in the gauge fence. I've cut a slight rabbet for dust relief. And I lined this with 150 grit PSA sandpaper for a better grip to the workpiece. So now we just need to get it in position, and we'll attach it with a couple of screws. If you're looking to upgrade your miter gauge, or perhaps maybe even just add another one to your shop, the Incra V27 would be a perfect option. From the 3 expansion points that allow you to snug that miter bar into your miter slot, to being able to mount a sacrificial fence with ease, to the protractor with the 27 indexable settings, there's just nothing not to like about this miter gauge. For more information on the V27 or anything else in the store, check us out at thewoodsmithstore.com.